Hey, this is Matt once again with the Bets Have video. This is a paid request, this time from James. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a series of unfortunate events, the episodes The Wide Window Part 1 and 2. Now, this is based on a series of books that I never read, but I have seen the movie Lemony Snicket's series of fortunate events with Jim Carrey, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, but thanks to James, I've been watching the show. I appreciate the request. It's one of those things where, of course, because of the format, it's definitely much more lengthened, so you definitely get much more detail within the stories, for better and for worse. So far, I have not minded the show. I think the two kids, they do have this at times. The way of speaking is fairly unnatural to how we would in the real world. So at times they'll say a piece of dialogue and it comes off as a bit bland or wooden, but at the same time is kind of, this dialogue be tough for anybody to say. I probably would still say they did a better job than the kids in the movie. Neil Patrick Harris is Olaf. I don't mind his interpretation. It's still over the top, but at the same time seems a bit more, I've said before, more evil and more villainous compared to Jim Carrey's version. Don't get me wrong, that was still a villain as well, but this one you feel a bit more of the evil tape that Neil Patrick Harris is showcasing with the character. Now, if you've seen the movie, there was a bunch of those stories put into one movie. There was them staying with Olaf, them staying with the uncle that had the snakes and reptiles and stuff. The one where they stayed with the woman who was steered of everything, lived on in a house by a cliff. That's this section. I will say that I think worked better in the movie because that section, it just felt like it went a quicker pace. And I think that's all you needed for that bit of the story. The fact that does every one of these need to be separated into two parts? Do they? Does every single one of these need to be separated into two parts? This did not need to be in two parts. And I did not like these episodes. So far, I didn't mind the episodes that were out. This one was like, oh man, it was a chore to sit through. Because I still like Patrick Warburton as the narrator, Lemony Snicket, who comes in and talks, and you tell that he's got a history with this, but we don't quite know what it is yet. He can say things very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not matter of fact, but very, a certain word. I had the word at the tip of my tongue, but he can say in a certain way that may seem wouldn't, it works and fits for his character. Like, let's say a line like, "Before another storm of melancholy engulfs you in dampness and misery. If you don't want to keep watching, look away. Otherwise, go on." And I did not like Aunt Josephine in this episode. The character I could handle a bit more in the movie. Here, Alfre Woodard plays her. I like Alfre Woodard. She was in Scrooge with Bill Murray. She was in Star Trek First Contact as the person from the past who is with Jean-Luc Picard and is challenging his explosive temper and reminding him about Moby Dick and all that jazz. I liked her as an actress. But the way they have her character is just such an annoying, irritating, stream-filled performance. That just was sitting there going, my God. I mean, and it starts with that irritating banter that I've said eats my ass each and every time. I wish he did, because at least it would have a better feeling than watching him work. Now, maybe for him it's the dialogue as well, but I think for him it's the acting too. He's not giving a good performance, and he's supposed to be, of course. I get that. This dumbass, because even the kids pretty much say he's a dumbass, just not in the way I'm saying it. But every time I see this character, I just want him to leave. Can you please just hightail it and get the hell out of here? I know he's supposed to be irritating, but it's like, as they say, imagine in wrestling, go home heat. X-Pac heat, which I thought was always unfair because I like X-Pac. I like Sean Waltman. So, but X-Pac heat, go home. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, leave. Don't come back type of heat. I'm like, oh my God. And then we're introduced to Aunt Josephine. That apparently back to the day, she was the most courageous, not afraid of anything, would skydive, wrestle alligators, but now she's overly cautious on everything since her husband died from having some crackers and these leeches got him in the lake. So now she's overly scared and cautious of everything. And she's so over the top. She's screaming at clot sounds. Very, very lecturing on grammar usage. Well, see, you're not just supposed to say it like this. You're supposed to say it like this, not like that. You see, you said this. You're supposed to say... I'm like, Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up. At one point, the kids like get her out. Hey, we need food. Can you leave? She doesn't want to do it at first, but she does. They look into the safe, and they get word that they get evidence that this is photos of her not being afraid, among other stuff. And one of the worst puns I've ever seen in my life. They find crackers. Now you say, oh, those are crackers that she had in her story. But then the baby, each time the baby talks, there's subtitles. There's just baby talk, but yes, they know what she's saying. And she's like, safe crackers. Because they were in a safe and they cracked the safe, so safe crackers. I'm like, this type of pun, I want to punch a hole through my chest. Oh my God. If that was in the book, whatever. I don't care. Then should have left it out. And, I mean, by the end of episode 1, Olaf is there again, pretending to be a captain with one leg and one eye patch. Of course, yet again, they tell the adult. Yet again, the adult doesn't listen. And yet again, Olaf gets the better. They think their aunt jumped out the window. Of course, I've seen the movie, so I know where this is going. You get to part 2. It feels like there's a little bit more momentum in the part 2 of this, where they get some food. Well, actually, it starts with dealing with Count Olaf. At one point, the banker's there. At one point, they're all together at this food place. This guy is made by Olaf's crew to wear this clown outfit and feed these kids burgers, and he tries to write a message to them. But one thing leads to another. they have peppermints they put in their mouth. It gives them allergies. That way they're able to be excused. Why Olaf and the crew don't just jump this banker and kick the shit out of him, I don't know. Because Olaf is here right by him. There's like 3, 4, 5. There's like 5 of them in the kitchen. All of them could just jump this guy, beat him up, and just take the kids. It's called this thing called guns. You get guns, but no. I guess there wouldn't be a rest of the show if they did that. They figure out that their aunt didn't really end her life. Something else is going on. There's a message in this note because it's grammatically incorrect, and she was very specific on grammar. They find the code. It's supposed to go to this cave. They get to the cave. And she's still scared. And she's saying stuff like, don't say anything scary. Don't say more scary things. What was it? Don't say more scary things. I'm frightened enough. She doesn't want to leave the cave. The boy goes, listen, if you don't, people will find this place, including real estate owners, real estate people, real estate agents. That scares her. They get on a boat. They get picked up by a ship. Olaf is on there. She's still being afraid. She gets one moment to stand up to him. But then he just pushes her and she falls into the leeches of the lake and dies. So that was all for nothing. At least in the movie it was a lot shorter. Oh, I almost forgot the big scene where a piece of the house is falling off and then goes back and falling off and goes back. There's a point where the boy's hanging off and he gets a photo. And when it goes back, he somehow flips because that's how momentum gravity works. And is able to get the hell with the other kids out of the house. And the whole house falls off the cliff. Now, the look, it still has that Tim Burton type of look. Which is fine. I know Tim Burton did the show Wednesday. Among many other stuff. Again, you would have thought this was directed by someone like Tim Burton. It's not. But it has that look, feel to it. Especially with like Olaf's gang. The way they look seems like people Tim Burton would cast to be that gang. The special effects, they're fine for a Netflix show. I've seen better. I've seen worse. The kids, the way they're talking, maybe like the more they talk, the less interested I am of these characters because of how they're saying this dialogue. A lot of times it's this not quite monotone, but this kind of consistent pace of their dialogue, and they're being very intellectual in their dialogue. And I'm not really seeing any other points of their performances or arcs or characters. And then yet again, you have an appearance from the parents. This point flying over. They see someone in trouble. They don't realize it's their own kids. And again, there's one of those things with these shows. I've said this before. I said this with Stranger Things. I said this with other stuff. Well, they take these things that would usually be like a movie or two, and then you gotta stretch it out to multiple episodes. And I'm not the biggest fan of that format because I think there are times where, because we have this amount of story, we have to do in this amount of episodes, because this is the amount of episodes the network, or in this case Netflix, wants. So that means there are times we're going to have to stuff it with things that are padding. We got to pad this out. And well, we got to do more. It's like pacing, editing. That tends to be non-existent with Netflix shows. I felt that way with Stranger Things, especially the later seasons. I'm feeling that with this. Again, you could have easily told the story in one part. You could keep most of part two, since that's where the essential stuff happens, and the first part could have been like 15 minutes. They get there, they meet Alfre Woodard, she's scared. Or 20 minutes. 20 minutes. 10 minutes of meeting her, she's scared. 10 minutes of meeting Olaf, trying to tell her she doesn't want to believe it. You think she ended her life. Then part two could be the rest of it. And Alfre Woodard toned down her performance, toned down her acting. Either maybe A, she's not cut out for the more over-the-top, exaggerated performances, because when I think of her performance is much more subdued. I didn't like First Contact, like Scrooge. Maybe she's not cut out for this type of zaniness. It just comes off as, again, more irritating and annoying. Maybe it's one of these things where I'm kind of ready for where we going. Life is going to be, here's another place they go to, here's another person, and all of a sudden another disguise, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. We have another appearance of the parents on their long journey. That's one thing I could say about the movie, is that it felt like more of a quicker pace thing than this. And you don't really give much detail to the kids themselves. At least not really. Maybe the way they're dealing with the situation is to be fair, but maybe that's the point, but I don't know. It's just the first half of this was just more about just how Alfre Woodard is afraid of everything. That got old quick, that got irritating quick. Even the safe, they didn't really know as much about the safe other than they didn't find really anything. Then when the house is tipped over, they find another, and that's where they're going by the end of the second part. We're going to go to this place here. We just have this to get to the next episode. Like, they didn't really learn anything. They didn't really learn anything about their parents. Other than they knew Alfre Woodard. Olaf and their crew kind of doing the same type of shenanigans. The banker yet again be a complete utter idiot, born dumbass. Not learning anything. Still haven't gotten a whole lot more insight to Lemony Snicket himself. Except I think Alfre Woodard mentioned the name Lemony Snicket. I mean, and how many episodes is this? There was the pilot. Then there was the 4. So now we're at episode 5 and 6. No, yeah, 5 and 6. I don't know. Maybe it'll get back on track next time. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of these 2 episodes. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.